chance that Parliament has to make amendments to the bill or reject it in finality. We'll be taking a look at that in a lot more detail, even as organizers of anti-tax protests organize what they say is round 2 of Occupy Parliament demonstrations today. We'll be taking a look at that in a bit more detail later on. We'll be speaking to members of Parliament who voted differently, some in support of the bill and those against the bill, as to why they voted the way they did and what their expectations are in the Committee of the Whole House. Speak to us on your expectations as well as the questions you'd like to ask these members of Parliament. The hashtag is New Dawn. But first, look at some of the news that are making headlines this morning. Now, Tuesday's nationwide shutdown by the Gen Z in protest of the finance bill is still in top gear, despite intimidation, abductions and arrests. This is according to activists, among them Boniface Mwangi, who were yesterday arrested and later released by DCI officers. At the same time, they have given President William Ruto an ultimatum of withdrawing the money bill in Parliament as the only negotiation they will recognize. Here's our reporter Joel Chacha with the dramatic events of yesterday ahead of the protests today.
Led by the former Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga, activists among them Boniface Mwangi presented themselves before the DCI headquarters to inquire on the attempted abductions.
We can't go home because these guys want to kill us. We can't go home. I want to go home to my family. If I've broken any law, arrest me. But don't abduct me. Don't chase us all over Nairobi at night trying to abduct us. What have we done wrong? Have we broken any law? We haven't broken any law. So why do they want to abduct us?
Have you read Article 238 of the Constitution? Has any of you read that? Because if you have, abductions are unconstitutional.
However, 30 minutes inside the DCI headquarters, they were arrested and in high-speed motorcade transferred to the Nairobi Area Regional Police Headquarters. Already a section of demonstrators had staged demos along Kiambu Road.
Ruto must go! Ruto must go!
After 4 hours of statement writing and interrogation, they were all released unconditionally with no charges pressed against them.
Yale wanayoyafanya ni kujaribu kushika watu, kuwatisha kama wale wengine ambao wameachiliwa. Na sisi tunasema kuna mwenzetu Shadrack hadi hivi sasa hajaachiliwa. Tunataka aachiliwe haraka iwezekanavyo kwa sababu kila mtu ana haki ya kuandamana. Hiyo ni haki ya katiba. Kwa hivyo hatufai kutishiwa.
Why is the government so aggressive? Why is the government abducting people because they're protesting? Why? I do not understand it. But honestly, we are not going to sit by and let this happen. We are demanding for Shad to be released. If the DCI is saying that they don't have him, the DCI should find him.
If people demonstrate under that 7, the police are the ones who are supposed to protect them. Not to tear gas them or use water cannons or live bullets. You know, all of us, if we don't breathe life in this constitution, okay, if we don't, then you'll be damned. That is my message.
They're to this end calling out the acts of intimidation to force them to bow out in mounting pressure on the government to withdraw the Finance Bill 2024. As the 7 days of rage go on, the planned nationwide shutdown on Tuesday will still take place. They have also dismissed calls for a dialogue by President William Ruto.
Come! Your time is coming. Even you are a coward. You are in that office. It's independent. Why are you killing our brothers and sisters? Why are you doing that? Tell the president people are angry because you can see through his lies. And the chickens are coming home to roost. Guess who's Gen Z? Those young police officers, those young army officers, those are the Gen Zs. You should be very afraid of them. Me, I'm old. I'll go to vijana. Because of vijana, they are not their parents. They are not cowards. They're going to fight him wherever he is.
So I'm telling you guys, there's no dialogue you're going to have with anyone, okay? There's no dialogue. What you're supposed to do was to reject the bill. You're not supposed to amend it. And the members of parliament, you are representing our interests. So if you go out there and you are bought, we're the ones on ground. We are going to recall you and tutapatana kwa ground 2027.
Instead of intimidating people, you say you want to talk to people, let them come, let them talk, yet you are sending officers to abduct, to intimidate people. That's not dialogue. Dialogue, you call people to the table. You don't forcefully pick them up or threaten them.
The Law Society of Kenya, we are taking keen interest on the violation of human rights and fundamental freedoms. We have been collecting data, and we are proceeding to court to petition against specific officers, some whom have been taken on camera shooting people who have lost their lives in this protest.
Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Now, Kenyan youth across the country is polling for a mega mass demonstration today in their quest to pile pressure on the National Assembly to drop the 2024 Finance Bill. In Mombasa County, a group of youth stormed Nyali Member of Parliament Mohammed Ali's offices, demanding him to declare his stand on the bill as their counterparts in Malava, Kakamega, went hunting for their legislator for supporting the controversial bill. Here's Timothy Simwa with the details.
Nyali, Mombasa. A group of youth made their way to the constituency offices demanding audience from their legislator Mohammed Ali. Ali, who was missing in action again, was not in parliament during the second reading of the finance bill last week, and his silence has irked his constituents.
Tumekuja hapa leo kwa sababu tunataka kujua amekuwa very vocal in other policies. Kwa nini kwa hili jambo la reject finance bill amenyamaza?
They feel the legislator is playing neutral tricks after finding himself between a rock and a hard place.
Mimi naomba kesho inshallah Mungu akujalie leo hai na uzima ujitokeze tujue uko pamoja na wananchi au uko pamoja na rais.
In Kilifi County, sand harvesters held demonstrations to add their voice to the controversial bill. They cite harsh economic times and believe the bill will only worsen an already bad situation.
Kwa ufupi tuateseka tayari hivyo tulivyo tuateseka tena tuambiwa sijui tupige kura financial bill. Hawa bunge wetu tuliowachagua nao hao ndio tumewaamini wakifika kule watutetee. Hawa wakifika kule hata wanazidi kutuua kabisa watumalize.
Ulikuja chini ukalia, ukatupamba na maneno mazuri mazuri, ukasema vijana watainuka. Wamama mboga watainuka. Maboda boda watainuka. Sisi ni mahasla.
Similar scenes were replicated in Lamu and Lungalunga areas where the youth demanded their legislators to reject the bill that enters a critical stage this week.
Sisi hatuko tayari na huo mswada kwa sababu sisi saizi tunateseka, watoto wako shule wanahitaji school fees. Kuna mabodaboda na ni watoto wadogo wanahitaji pesa hakuna.
In Malava constituency in Kakamega County, a group of youth baying for their legislators' blood stormed an event organized by Kakamega Women Representative Elsie Mhanda. They had hoped to find their Member of Parliament, Malulu Njendi, who supported the bill last week, but unfortunately, he was not present at the meeting.
Sisi tunataka kujihusisha na viongozi ambao wanatetea raia. Hatutaki viongozi ambao wanakaa kwa maofisi na maboardroom.
Young Kenyans across the country have vowed to join tomorrow's planned demonstrations against the bill in their droves. In Kisumu and Kisii counties, youth groups say they will not be cowed until their voice is heard, vowing to hand their legislators harsh political lessons at the ballot in the 2027 elections.
We are not opposing this bill to please anyone. We are not opposing this bill just to record on TikTok. We are not opposing this bill to be seen on televisions and social media platforms. We are opposing this bill so that all Kenyans can have at least a standard of living which they desire.
Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
Meanwhile, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has issued warnings and demands to Kenyans planning to protest today. Speaking hours before the anticipated Gen Z protests, Kindiki has warned that the law limits anyone who instigates violence and causes chaos to non-protesters. Meanwhile, he assured that security officers will remain neutral and firm in enforcing the rule of law.
The national security organs of our country shall remain neutral, apolitical, but firm in enforcing the law of our country, and no form of lawlessness is going to be entertained whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, those who wish to exercise their constitutional right can do so today, tomorrow, every day, because it is their right to do so. But they must also adhere to the rule of law. They must inform the police of their intentions to exercise this right. They must also inform the police of the routes they will take for purposes of providing escorts and ensuring that there is law and order during this constitutional expression. They must also notify the police the timings of their activities. They must stop their activities at sunset or at 6:30 p.m., whichever is earlier, in accordance with the Public Order Act Cap 57 of the laws of Kenya.
Legislators allied to the Azimio coalition have maintained that their stand on the finance bill is that of Kenyans, which is to reject the whole bill in totality. Speaking Monday after a parliamentary group meeting, the members of parliament reiterated they will not present any amendments to the bill, while promising to vote no. They have at the same time cautioned the government against terrorizing Kenyans who are in objection of the bill. The bill will once again be subject of debate during the committee of the whole House, where amendments are set to be presented.
We have resolved unanimously that our position to reject the bill in its entirety stands. And that is the position we are taking to the committee of the whole House tomorrow morning. And that position is going to remain up to the very end. In other words, we are basically with the majority of Kenyans in continuing to reject the Finance Bill 2024. Thank you. As a matter of fact, all our members who had proposed some amendments to the bill have been directed to drop them altogether. We have got nothing to do with the bill, and we shall reject it in its entirety. We stand in solidarity with the Kenyans who are being intimidated and demand that all law enforcement agencies respect the rights of Kenyans as enshrined in the Constitution. We are also aware that a statement has been issued this evening from the Interior Ministry. We want to advise them to stop scaring Kenyans for nothing. Yes, Kenyans are simply going about their business of enjoying their rights.
Now, the mounting pressure from the anti-finance bill demos witnessed in the country, members of the opposition have been threatening to recall MPs who voted yes for the bill against the will of the majority. Our reporter Bentura Komboka sought insights into the procedures of recalling legislators and filed the following report.
The week-long continued protest led by the Gen Z are now fueling discussions of instituting a recall process to oust members of parliament from representing them. This is after majority ignored their calls to shoot down the Finance Bill 2024 that they maintain is punitive. The promulgated 2010 Constitution, Article 104, vests a power to the public to recall members of parliament. Further, under the electoral, Article 97 and 98 have the same power to recall MPs before the lapse of their term in office.
Kenyans have a right to recall a member of parliament. They say it should not be done before 2 years after an election, and it should be before a year to election.
According to constitutional lawyer Nuruddin Kagai, the recall process, which involves 5 stages, has to be initiated first through a petition drawn by a registered voter in the constituency that wants a recall which has to meet a certain threshold.
There's a High Court decision that the other day just said you don't have to be a voter. You can institute the proceedings. So you send a petition in writing to IEBC, for example, and then among the things that are needed there, you need to have 35% or 15% support from every ward, that is.
The collected signatures that will have been collected from every ward is then submitted to the IEBC for verification and substantiation of grounds. The Constitution of Kenya gives 4 grounds of a recall, which includes misappropriation of funds, gross violation of the Constitution, commission of an offence under Election Act, and gross misconduct. After successful verification, the IEBC notifies the Speaker of the National Assembly to recall an MP, after which the Commission then holds a fresh election.
When you take the petition, let's say to IEBC, for example, they're going to check, because you need to get some level of signatures. So they will counter-check the signatures and names to make sure that those people actually exist. So the voters in that constituency will either vote yes or no to that. If the answer is yes, then IEBC will then institute a scenario where they convey the message to the speakers of the House. If the National Assembly, the Speaker, that is Wetangula, will be informed. If it is, let's say, for example, the MCAs, the Speaker of the County Assembly will be informed. Then after that, we will have an election.
But there's a catch. The same ejected MP is also allowed by law to vie for the seat again if they wish to in the fresh elections.
Article 104.2 says that the Parliament will legislate on the process of recall. Now, these are the same people you want to come up with a process to remove them from office. If you're sent home, there's a reason why you're sent home, because you can't now impose yourself on the same people who sent you home. Then what business do you have now vying for by-election? So I believe there are loopholes, courtesy of the legislation made by members of Parliament, but which were actually termed unconstitutional by the High Court.
With the government yet to reconstitute the IEBC, if the threats to recall MPs come to fruition, it will be an exercise in futility, unless the courts direct otherwise.
Political class has made sure that IEBC as it is not functional. So even if we were institute recall proceedings, we'd find ourselves in a situation where we have petitions where we have taken to IEBC and no one is actually going to do anything about it because IEBC is not fully constituted. But I believe someone can go to court and seek the interpretation of the court as to whether the members of IEBC right now, whether they can actually proofread, verify. The word is verifying the signatures of those people who are supporting, or the voters who are supporting the recall.
Bentura Kwambuka, K24, Nairobi.
It is a process we'll be delving into a lot deeper in the course of the broadcast. Let's take a look at what's making headlines on the dailies this morning. And to begin with a look at the front page of the People Daily. The top page there says, major test for MPs as Kindiki reads Riot Act. That's the front page of the People Daily. There we have a picture of a group of activists led by Boniface Mwangi there, who presented themselves at the DCI headquarters yesterday following claims of alleged kidnapping attempts on them and also reports of kidnapping attempts on protesters and organizers of the anti-finance bill protests. Videos have been circulating on social media as well, showing situations where anti-finance bill protesters have literally been picked up by security officials, most of them armed in the videos, and taken to unknown locations. And in studio with us, take a look at us making headlines on the dailies. We have Suna West Member of Parliament, Honorable Peter Masara, as well as Mandera South Member of Parliament, Honorable Kore Haro. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you and thank you for being with us here on The New Dawn. Of course, the big story today and for the rest of the week is that make or break debate in Parliament over the finance bill. Kenyans want to know the stand of members of Parliament. And the front page there says it's a make or break week. Honorable Masara, very good morning to you. Before we begin, what is your stand on the finance bill and what do you think how this week is likely to pan out?
Okay, good morning everyone. Actually, I'm going to oppose the bill and I'm going to vote no. I believe Kenyans are going to carry the day because they have spoken in big numbers. And any leader who was elected to represent the people, who was pro the bill, I believe they're going to change their mind because they thought it was a small thing and it was going to take a shorter period. I was in my constituency from Friday to yesterday, and you can detect how these young people are agitated. And they are determined. They are saying, after all, we are educated, we don't have homes, we don't have jobs, so we are losing nothing because we have lost the country for you people. So we'll go to reclaim the country back. Actually, the right word is that the youth out there are hopeless. It reached a point where they are saying this is their last hope to reclaim the country back. So I'm going to be with them, and I believe at the end of this week, Kenya will be a different country.
All right, and
because leaders will be listening to the people, will not be thumb-chasing, telling people that lazima ifanyike. People must dialogue. And it is high time we call for a conversation about how this country can be governed going forward.
All right, and that's the interesting points. One of dialogue, which we'll be revisiting. Honorable Haro, a very good morning to you. You are of a different opinion. You are in support of the finance bill of 2024. Why is that?
Well, if you say you are in support, I don't know what that means exactly, but let me first of all put this into context. You know, through the parliamentary process, any bill, including the finance bill, goes through a number of stages. What we voted for last week, contrary to what many Kenyans believe, was actually to vote for that bill to go to the third reading and the committee of the whole house. And at the committee of the whole house, that's when you will know the actual position of every member of parliament, because we are going to discuss that bill clause by clause. And watch the debate today, and you will see my stand on the floor of the house.
Right.
But I agree with Honorable Masara. We need to have a dialogue in this country. The Gen Zs who are actually agitating for good governance and for rejection of the finance bill have made a very interesting point. We are at that stage in our country where we need to listen to this group, which makes the largest bulk of the population of this country. They make 33% of Kenyans. And in the past, they have been a bit inactive in political discourse. And now they've come out and they've said they want to be heard, they want to participate. And I can assure you, their leaders will listen to them.
All right, let's end it there and take a break here on New Dawn. When we come back, we'll be speaking to these legislators as well as taking your questions and comments on their stand on the finance bill and important issues that you'd like to see being discussed and debated before the committee of the whole house. When we come back, also a look at the dailies. The Standard newspaper says, tax rebellion, Ruto's wiggle room shrinks. Even his interior CS, Kithure Kindiki, says action will be taken against protesters from 6:30 p.m. and if they attempt to access protected areas. On the front page of the Daily Nation, it says Ruto's options. We'll be exploring those as well after this break. To stay with us.
DJ Bludgy.